Hi, this is Jack Schaub, and this is Chiller Service Advice, a video cast designed for the curious observer to the seasoned HVAC specialist. This is episode 9, titled Why We Use Glycol in Chillers. Now, there are three primary reasons why you want to end up using glycol in your chiller. And the first one is if the fluid going through the evaporator, which comes in contact with your evaporator tubes or plates, comes in contact with that refrigerant temperature that is below freezing, you're going to need some kind of glycol in there as a freeze protection. Most of the chillers that come off the assembly line are already designed as a water-only chiller and have set points limiting you to anywhere between 48 and 44 degrees, 44 being the larger chillers, the Carriers, McQuays, and Trains. But either way, the reason for that is that even though the temperature is, let's say, 48 degrees going out, the actual temperatures of the refrigerant, the lines and copper lines and what have you in the evaporator, are probably 15 degrees less. So you minus the 15 from the 48 and you're very close to the freezing mark. So if you're using no glycol in there at all, you start to form ice inside the evaporator, your superheat starts to drop off, your oil return is poor, you start to have slugging and major problems. The second reason for this is that if you have a chiller that's outside and the ambient temperatures are below freezing at any time during the year, for example, in New Jersey during the winter, we have cold enough winters where we are well below freezing. So if your chiller is outside, and I know that moving water does not freeze, but if a pump shuts off and no one knows it, and that pump is going through the evaporator and now you have water that's not moving, or you have a power outage where you have no way of being able to circulate the water that you have going through there. You have issues where you can freeze the water inside the evaporator, rupture the evaporator, and cause serious damage. Another reason to make sure that you have glycol inside the system. Now, the last reason is to keep the quality of the water or the fluid in there in good condition. It's extremely important, and depending on your application, you would use either an ethylene or a propylene glycol, and the levels, really the difference between them is the levels of inhibitors that are inside there and the toxicity. And I'll get into that actually in my next episode explaining applications for the ethylene and propylene glycols themselves. So ways you can put the glycol in your system is you can be able to purchase it in a premix. So you can order a 5-gallon or a 55-gallon container of premixed. Let's say you want 30% or 40 or 50%, and that comes premixed with distilled water, so the water quality is really good. If you have poor water quality where you are, coming from the city or mountains, hard water and whatnot, this may be the way to go. It also removes the human factor of trying to mix it on your own. You pour it in, you know it's the same mixture. The other option is, which is less expensive, is to purchase the concentrate, and then you can be able to mix that on your own to be able to give you whatever level of protection that you want. Now, one thing to never do is, especially on portable chillers, is you don't want to ever use a car antifreeze. The car antifreezes do not last as long, they break down quickly, and they create glycolic acid inside of your system. And when this happens, you have poor heat exchange, you have problems with either your molds or your printers or your MRIs. All of them get subjected to this breakdown, and it's hard to get out. You have to acid flush and a lot of things that go along with that. So make sure that you use an industrial antifreeze, propylene or ethylene, and that way your chiller will last a nice long time. I hope this has helped, and I'll see you next time.